agenda is the annual summative superintendent evaluation.
I would like to make a motion of the approval of the annual summative evaluation for Dr. Keith as submitted with some changes. There are 2 date corrections on the cover sheet, both of those being from June 24th to July 24th in 2017. And then on standard number 1, there is 1 typo to be corrected. And standard number 7, there is, we will move that to accomplished with the evaluation being made public tomorrow once these changes are made.
Okay. I'm going to read just a little bit just so everybody can kind of explain the process. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay, now I will read just a little bit so that everybody is aware how we have come to these conclusions. The board and Dr. Look agreed to rate performance on each of the 7 leadership standards in the superintendent leadership plan. As part of this year's process, Dr. Look submitted examples of evidence of his accomplishments under each of the standards to inform board member consideration. The board met during several executive sessions in May and June to discuss evidence and other issues related to the evaluation standards. Board members met in executive session on June 26 to complete the preliminary evaluation, and based on state guidance, determined a single performance level rating for each standard. The board just met with Dr. Look in executive session this evening for a conversation about the evaluation findings and to finalize this summative and annual evaluation document that is required by the state. And as Susan mentioned, these corrections will be made and they will be available for the public tomorrow. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add at this point? All right, at this point we'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Luck. All right, and we will move on to presentations at this time. Board member comments.
Yeah, I would just like to comment. I know most everybody here probably got the end of the year publication about the schools. I thought it was very well done. I like the unique aspect that it came from a principal's perspective and did mention the positives that went on in each school, and we're obviously off to a good start already, and hard work is going on, and I appreciate everybody on the staff that has ensured that excellence is still happening.
All right,
There are never enough times in the summer to thank the maintenance and custodial crews and technological crews that are working night and day to get our schools ready. I'd like to thank the board for approving the mowing contract. It has allowed our maintenance guys to get to, well, let's know exactly how many more projects, but a bunch more to make our schools ready for kids. We have been able to find colors under floors that we didn't know existed. We've been able to patch holes that we didn't know could ever be filled. We've been able to make classrooms more comfortable for teachers that had gotten used to certain conditions that we never wanted to see happen. Our maintenance guys have just been hustling. You tie that in with, we'll talk a toddler update in a minute, but getting the 3rd floor ready for that still to be on schedule, as well as trying to start another project at Hogsett. It has taken a tremendous collaboration for everybody to be on track. Same point in time, principals have been well ahead of the game in regards to staffing. We're down to just a few vacancies left. We're further ahead. That is largely due to 1, good recruiting, and 2, great retention. With the success of the schools and the more folks finding greater values, we saw in TEL surveys, we've had less vacancies to fill, happier staff, and therefore that's contagious. Your best recruiters are your own staff members. Talk to other friends throughout the systems and say, hey, you ought to come over here and work. And that's what allowed us to continue to get stronger as we find new opportunities for new staff to plug in. And we're just about staffed. Kids are in for a great experience next year. You'll just have to take my word for it. With what folks have planned, what the organization's put in place, and the level of planning that all of our principals and central office putting in to work together. We had a great retreat last week. That systems will always be, our goal is not just to be good enough, our goal is to be good, which means every year you're never complacent, you're trying to tweak systems and make sure that it's easier, more comfortable for families, more exciting for kids, and supportive of staff. So in a month's time, we'll have lots more to share about all that that's coming, and yeah, let's look forward to it.
The next item on the agenda is the personnel notifications. This is information only. Is there anything you need to share?
Hopefully so. It's generally updates to you guys, all of which has been processed. Nothing of out of the ordinary nature.
Moving on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Take a motion.
Make a motion to approve of the June 5th, 2017, June 6th, 2017, June 12th, 2017, and June 19th, 2017 meeting minutes as submitted.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. All right, and the next item on the agenda is discussion on the John W. Bate Middle School naming dedication.
So Mr. Hughes has the best timing still of anybody in history. Anybody can stroll in right on cue. It's perfect. He and I have been playing phone tag. We have, thanks to Sherry and Christy and Paul, we think we have been able to secure a sign company to update the name of Bate to show John W. Bate Middle School before the start of school. We think we were able to push the agenda far enough ahead that we can do it to do a ribbon cutting ceremony in cooperation with the Soul of 2nd Street Festival, which is why Mr. Hughes is here, to encourage us to do exactly that. Even though obviously it would happen at the school and not on 2nd Street, if we could tie those things together, we'll do it. I dodged them today because I was waiting on a call back from the sign company to confirm that the installation would be there, because I didn't want to tell them I'm still not sure. So now I'll do it on tape. I'm still not sure. And admit to that part of it, or that's what we're hoping to have happen for the dates. Do you want to go over what you think would fit best for you?
I think probably Saturday morning. The festival, there's a Friday night and a Friday evening and a Saturday. But I was thinking that if we did it, if you guys want to do it, the festival starts at 12 on Saturday. We could do it at 11 o'clock or sometime like that, preempting and going into the Saturday ceremonies. I think that would be, you know, because I know you want to do the ribbon cutting at the school and then we move everything to, you know, or it would just kind of tie in. I was waiting to see what you would do before I did my blitz, my media blitz, you know. So.
And what are the dates again? I'm
That's
sorry.
11th and 12th.
11th and 12th of August.
So it'll be Saturday the 12th.
Saturday would be the 12th.
Okay.
I think tying in at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning's perfect. I know we talked a little bit at the Playhouse, and I think tying it in with the festival's a beautiful thing to do.
I think it would be. My thinking was when we discussed it was that would bring a lot of other people, because I know there's a lot of people that would like to be there, and it would just kind of, I think it would tie. It would be. I think I'm like you. I'll use the word beautiful too. It would be a beautiful time to do that. I don't know exactly what you would do as far as ceremonial wise, but I think the main thing is to get a time and to get it, let it be known that what is going to happen at that time. I almost missed it. You said I was on time. I come to once. I said because I thought you guys was in upstairs. Then I went to central office. I said, no, I'm sorry, Gary.
I told you I've been dodging you. I don't know.
I'm gonna try it down to high school again. So.
Is there something that's produced for the community?
I'm old. Can't hear
Sure,
well.
sorry, I know I don't even know.
No, I'm fine.
Is there something for the community that's published sort of like a time frame of when events happen that you all would be able to incorporate that into so that people would know, or?
Well, I think, time frame would be because on the Friday, a lot of folks will be already in town, coming in Friday for festivities on Friday and Saturday. So I thought that would probably be the
Sure.
You know, and people got stirring around. Everybody's not gonna go to the festival, that's for sure. So, but a lot of people that's interested and, you know, about this particular thing would probably show up for that and not even, you know, come to the festival, but they would still, you know, have a chance.
Yeah, I talked to Mr. Ball, and he said most of all the alumni has been informed, you know.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, they would probably all show up in their purple and gold and everything. So, you know, even if they didn't come to the festival, but they would still be there. And I just thought that historical wise, it would tie everything in.
Michael, are you gonna have a listing of events in the newspaper, or do you know if that's gonna be?
I think we can. Well, I was waiting to actually approach the applicant or messenger about, I was waiting to see who this was going to, I've been like, you know, I was waiting to see if it was going to happen, and now, you know, they feel like it will happen. I think we need to get as much coverage as we can. I'm pretty sure the paper will cover it. It wouldn't hurt to contact, because it's big. It really is. It's bigger than you might realize, you know. So I think if we did that and maybe contacted some of the TV stations, maybe they might be covered. I don't know, but I think it would be great if we got covered. I'm sure the African mentioned, because well, actually,
She's
I was gonna say, Kendra's nodding her head.
actually, Kendra don't cover it. But I talked to the guy that takes photographs. He was at the Pioneer Playhouse thing, and we talked a little bit about the possibility about saying nothing. You know, so yeah, that would be great, man. If we get, that would just blow it up to, you know, but it's big. It's a lot bigger than I think most people realize. You know.
Well, I'm sure on our end as well, we can make sure on our social media sites.
Yeah, of course. My Facebook page is pretty extensive too, and,
Okay.
you know, and so that would be, you know, our historical personal page is there, geological historical thing. So we have 4 to 5 different outlets that we would be pushing. You know, plus I know Kendra will do a good job with it.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Sorry we sent you all over town to get here, but.
I was surprised. It's something, because y'all usually have it in this room.
No,
Flex
this
room
is-
upstairs.
this
but
one's
it's-
air
Well, that's why I look, I
it's-
said, there's no lights up there.
I think it's a little warm.
Oh.
air conditioning either. So.
All right,
So-
well, so we are, so we're going,
Mr. Chair, when do you think when do you think we'll be able to be firm in installation?
Did Kirby get back with you on,
Um,
hey, yes?
I mean, he gave me a pretty firm yes that he would have it installed by August 10th. I've just texted again. I mean, I'll ask him every day.
Worst case scenario,
It has to be
that's not
ordered.
going to do
I do know
something,
that.
we could still do something that
Yeah, we can.
signifies.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's
something,
what-
the
Put a banner up.
symbol
or
of it is
something
more
that's-
important than the actual, you know, you still got things that need to be
We'll just
done.
make sure that the camera angle is correct.
Symbolism, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
all right, see y'all later.
Thank you. All right, any more discussion, questions on that? Okay. All right. Okay, moving on to construction updates. First is on Tolliver.
So, Tolliver, things are progressing well. We're listing the third floor Wednesday, which they were cleaning today. So that's always a good sign when they're starting to clean up. So the punch will start at 8:30 on Wednesday, second floor. A lot of stuff's already started there. The Griggs thinks that will be done maybe a month, potentially, maybe mid-November instead of mid-December. As soon as I say that on tape, it'll probably be mid-January, but they think we're ahead of schedule there, and they think we're ahead of schedule on the gym. So the gym was supposed to be offline until October 1st, but they think we're a little bit ahead of schedule on that, so it's always good to get the gym back. Paving, I drove on it last night. As far as I could go, they're still finishing up on the north end. There was some discoloration. They got a wrong palette of pavers, and so the colors was off a little bit. They caught that themselves and have replaced that. They're starting to work on that today. Hopefully, we'll be done by the end of this week with that. We have an event there on Thursday, registration event, so I think we've got enough parking where we can, because it's not a full school event, so we'll have enough parking to get everybody in there. It's kind of, hit and miss and sporadic with registration. Sidewalks are in. The city's done a good job getting those done for us on time. There was a chance they weren't going to have those done, and Earl Coffey and his team have been good to us to get that done. We've reinforced the bus loops on the backside of Harding where both bus entries are. There's a fiber. It's a major fiber that supplies a lot of the south end of town, and so we have reinforced that with concrete. The city has. We get into iffy. We're not allowed to spend any school money, as we've talked about, beyond our property, and so that gets iffy right there. The city has to maintain that, but that's going to be a lot of heavy traffic there with the bus traffic. So I would say there's going to be a lot of maintenance periodic in that area. Our sidewalk, it'll go from the parking lot and join up with the parking that's underway. We had a little discussion about how we were going to do that. We had originally thought we'd have that done before the city did their piece. There's some really cool, if you have a chance to walk in there, there's the office, the spaces created in the resource rooms. They're like in the front offices that used to be, the dead end corridors. They're starting to get those done in with the offices. It's just really, and I told Eric today, we've been in places where the old didn't seem, this seems a lot more seamless. I mean, there's still contrast, obviously, but, and I think it's just, the building is just such a cool building that we've been able to it doesn't look like the old has been neglected. It looks like the old has gotten the same amount of preferential treatment as the new guy. So it's cool to see that those things are, we've been in buildings where that's not the case. So, any questions?
Remind me kind of the schedule with the third floor, and when would they move to the second?
So we will be utilizing third floor.
We will be utilizing.
Yes,
third
at
floor.
start of school.
Okay.
For the 300 students that are enrolled in Tolliver, we are not making any changes to the students that are in Tolliver that were in there last year, except for the 5th graders, and the newbies are all going to be back in Tolliver. So when we say transition, I worry that people get the wrong idea.
Right.
We'll use the third floor for existing Tolliver students, and we'll continue to work on the second and utilize the rest of the building. And actually, Brian and Christy might have other things to add there because they're handling some of that transition work. So.
Do we have any more updates on the columns? Or like any more people, we're having trouble getting people to bid it or want to work on it, or maybe that's.
We're not that far down. We're not far down the road. We need to have a meeting with Eric and Christy and Dr. Look and decide how we proceed. Eric's got good plans. If that's the way the board chooses to go, we have some plans. They are relatively expensive plans.
He has some general costs.
But he's had some general costs, and we may have talked about that a little bit in the past. But so it's a function. Now, once we decide to go, I think it's a fairly relatively quick process to get that work underway.
Well, and also to speak with Lori, I've gotten more inquiries about the front of the building. And then I think we need to try to proceed with this a lot sooner.
I would hate to open up a new building and have that still looking like that. I mean, I feel like it needs to be included in the.
And part of the timeline was to wait until we got the entrance on the Perryville Street side, so we could then begin to focus, because it's hard to work and that's your entrance into the building in the same place. So
Another part of the delay was seeing how much is left in contingency.
But I think we need to proceed on and not worry about what we have left in contingency, because we have to do the work no matter what.
Right.
So I'm thinking if we can get some hard numbers pretty quickly or soon,
The ar-
that helps the board be able to look at our financial picture and what else we're looking at on expenditures. I mean, it's probably $500,000. That's my guess.
Yeah, that's a tad north of it, but
So I mean, I think that the sooner we can get that approximated and if we have drawings that are required or whatever, I'm really hoping we can move that along.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah, Item 15 will give us a better chance to work. That's what I'm saying. More room to discuss what financial available to that project numbers. Obviously, it's a high priority. We all recognize the fact that opening a new building with scaffolding in the front doesn't seem to fit the same picture.
Yeah, my granddaughter wanted to climb that scaffold. I said, honey, you go for it. She's only 5. She can handle it.
Who's the school safety officer? Me?
I think it's something we do together.
Yeah, good. We need to address that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep her off.
Good, thank you.
And I'll go back to floors real quick. We are utilizing the old first floor up until Christmas time. And then second semester, the old first floor will be under construction and the second floor will open.
Okay.
So still a floor by floor, but we will be in the second floor at some point during the year, just not yet.
Okay, that's great.
And I assume that communication is going out to parents, regarding traffic flow and all that kind of stuff.
We, this good news, I think it's good news. The floor, the gym floor, we thought was probably beyond sanding, but we've had Martin Flooring come in and look at that, and it is sandable. They took sample out, there's plenty of wood. There's sand. That would be a general maintenance item we'd need to do regardless if we had construction going on. That floor should have been sanded a long time ago. So that's good because now you're not looking at a very big number at some point to replace that floor. If that's going to be which it is going to be our 2 through 5 center, that floor is going to have to be tended to. So the good news is it's in good shape and it's sandable, and that'll be another thing we'll be bringing before you to get some funding on.
Well, that's exciting, because that's a beautiful floor, and it's part of that building, and to know that.
Martin Flooring, who's done all of our work, does university work. They're probably the biggest supplier of that service in the state. They were very, very pleased with how much wood was left.
Did he give you a quote yet?
No, he didn't, and I don't want to throw a number. I think I could guess it pretty close, but I'll not do that. I mean, I think it's going to be. We'll get you a number. It's not going to be near the cost it would have been.
All right. Thank you. And then we need to move on to Hogsett.
So, Hogsett, we initially were going to try and get architects here for conversation. We couldn't make it this evening. So, 2 things have happened. One, they come out, tighten their measurements. They are waiting on us to be able to start all sorts of conversations, focus groups. At our leadership retreat, we had the conversation as to what's the right timing for that. We're concerned about bringing teachers in to have a conversation before the start of one school year and have them focus on the next school year, and whether or not that would create too much anxiety. And the decision was the fact that, in fact, it might reduce anxiety for this year if we can go ahead and start talking about next year. And as long as folks are cool with that, which is where folks decided, then in a week, they've given me some dates, and we'll start trying to pull as many people that can be available to have conversations. So there very well may be a special call, meeting, lunch in your future for board members on a day that I can then work in others, subgroups in the same way which we did for Tolliver. Christy and I have been identifying all the focus groups that we want to have to initially start that input. So you're off the hook for this evening, but soon there will be an opportunity to throw more than 2 cents in towards that process. And it's possible we're looking. The next window of opportunity is the week of July 31st, so not this week, but it's a son of it. Yeah, calendar moves fast, so soon. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the standards of behavior.
I'll ask if there's any questions. My recommendation is to accept the language that Dr. Look presented, that both of us presented, with the change of language of harassment. definition of harassment that you have a sample of in the policy. That we broke that out. Now, the second reading of that is not going to be until August meeting when we have the one big second reading of all of them. So we had the first reading at the work session the other day, and so I would think that there's probably not any reservation about, I shouldn't speak for the board, but I wouldn't think there's any reservation about that language. It's straight from KRS. So if you accept that, then we can break that language out in the standards of behavior book. I talked real briefly with Dr. Luke today about putting something on the back with the numbers, phone numbers, who's what, and then the Standards of Behavior Committee will start again in October, and we can look at, it's kind of a continuous process, we can look at continuing that. Some of the suggestions that we've had were just, with this close to the start of school, we need, and then there was a discussion about printing it or not printing it. So, I'm not sure where the board left that.
Was this also where we needed to make a policy change based on something that was in here?
It was about, that's what it's about, the harassment policy.
The harassment
We're
language.
not giving it a specific definition.
Okay.
We did a first reading
Right.
of that.
Of that last.
And that policy will be reflected in the standards of behavior.
Okay.
In that, on that, the page where it's harassment discrimination.
Okay.
And I will say, the principals, I think Sherry was at 3 meetings that we had about standards of behavior. The principals had input, so it's, as we work through the process, we need to get more people at the table. And but one reason I'm hesitant about a lot of changes is because we had a process, the principals saw that, we organized it that way. So, and again, we're kind of up against a deadline. But I think a lot of the ideas we heard about making that book with more information, except don't do this and don't do that, that book can become a lot more effective tool for us. And I think having just the numbers of the principals, maybe the principals don't want their numbers on there, having the school information, the principals' numbers, and the people you need to contact, if we could do a 1 page, or we might be able to even dedicate 2 pages to that, if you will trust us to put those numbers there. That's be the only thing that you would be approving that you haven't seen.
I think that sounds good. There's only one small typo, I'm sorry. I think on page 16, there's like a weird.
We will fix
That's it.
we will fix those typos. And if we do print a Minuteman, we'll find those too.
But no, otherwise, organization.
Good job, Ed.
So if you can approve that, we can, and then the printing is the only other question we need to make a decision on. Do you,
If we didn't print it, what was the law? We just have it purely online, available to folks, but then knowing that we would have to keep copies at the school for those that aren't able to print or view it online.
I would guess that the best way to proceed there is to give way far advance notice that this is how we intend to deliver the standards of behavior in 18, 19. Look for that online, and we get that word out, because everybody's going to wonder where their book is.
Yeah, so possibly for this year printing it, but letting folks know that
Start
they
moving
can
away
start
from that.
moving forward.
Well, then it would work out, yeah. Or maybe when any student enrolls in the new school, then they get a hard copy and then every subsequent year.
Which we can do a little bit cheaper than current. I mean, we can run those off, have a copy.
All right, do we want to make a motion first before we get further discussion? There's nothing else to it.
I just need to make a motion to approve the standards of behavior. I'll make a motion to approve the standards of behavior.
Second. All right, so any other discussion? Does everybody seem to be in favor of going ahead and printing this year and possibly looking at changing that for? Yeah, okay, okay. Okay, so all those in favor? All right, motion passes. Okay. Moving on to the policy update. first reading.
Ed, you want to walk us through these Narcan and
Oh, sorry. I started taking a little time off there. So you have in front of you, I hope, the Narcan, epinephrine, EpiPen policy. That policy, it is not required by KDE, but KDE in some of the stuff they've sent out have been very encouraging of districts to accept that. I know our boards have had issues in the past with liability and how that would be administered. The Narcan really is less of an issue because the medical profession will tell you that if you administer Narcan to someone that you suspect is having an opioid overdose, there is no negative consequence if they're not. The EpiPen's a little bit different, but there's not a high downside risk on administering. It does have some consequences that need to be considered, and that's why we would have our school nurse and our health services coordinator do the training on that, and anybody that would be administering that would be trained to notice symptoms of allergic reactions. And we would, like we do with all medications, that would be a thorough process of training. You have to have 2 doses of adult and 2 doses of child at each school. And they have to be in 2 separate locations. And all that can be easily worked. I say that's kind of in the weeds and stuff. We can easily work it out through the school principals and the school nurse. So my recommendation is that we, Keith talks about this all the time. If something that's out there that could prevent a tragedy, if you know it's out there, it's hard to have that available. And the risk with the EpiPens of someone who's not having an allergic reaction, I don't think outweighs the benefits of having that on hand. And whether we diagnose it better or whether there truly are more allergies, I don't know, but it just seems like we are dealing with that more and more, either through students, adults. One thing that is, that we're pretty much going to have that on hand during the school day. So the policy doesn't frame that out, but it is a school day, so no one is under any assumption that it's going to be at the football field. It is at the schools, and I think the language is fairly specific about it. We'll have it on site at each school.
And how many folks will actually be trained per school?
It depends on who, we don't want to train anybody that's not comfortable. And so we would love to have as many as we can have. Obviously, there have to be some folks trained at each building, and the more, the merrier. And so there's no mandated, you must have this many people trained. We obviously have to have some people trained, and we would love to have many people trained.
Yeah, I just look at, there's always that possibility when all the administrators for some reason that day are at a meeting, and if those are the only folks that are trained, then...
We need to try to have enough staff trained where it is very unlikely that somebody in the building won't be trained. Can you guarantee that 100%? Probably not, but you can have enough staff trained that you eliminate that almost 100%.
It'll be critical that someone in cafeteria staff in every building is comfortable with it. Right. The greatest chance for allergic reaction is going to be in food services.
And food services, where we're going to have, we're going to have 1 dose stored with food services. So all of our cafeteria staff, hopefully, would be welcoming to be trained. They don't have to be. Some folks are uncomfortable with it, and we're not going to force anybody that it's uncomfortable with doing it. But we would hope to have several, and our folks are great about that kind of stuff. We have some that are worried, and I was thinking if I was a teacher, would I want to, back in my teaching days, I may have been uncomfortable with it, but we have a lot of people that will step up and do those kind of things. I don't worry about us having enough training. And we'll have them in the right, you'll have office staff, front office staff, and cafeteria folks, hopefully trained.
And I know you brought up that you didn't want folks to think it's just at the football field. Are we going to have that available to the training room and to?
We would have it in the schools. So it is in the school buildings. And so we're going to have 5 adult doses for our 5 district schools, and 5, and then Sunrise, obviously. And then 5 child doses at each school.
The child's defined by under 50 pounds.
Right.
So it's a fairly limited audience for child.
But the language that KSBA has approved says at each school will have, shall have, once you adopt this policy.
Chris says may. But then it also says, it's still, because I know we talked about this earlier, a few months ago, but it says while on board owned property or attending a district event. So by it saying district schools may maintain an Narcan, then that excludes the fact if it's at the football field or at the soccer field.
The Narcan is a little bit less defined than the policy. I mean, it's the epinephrine is a little more strictly and narrowly defined. And KSB secretary who sent us the email said that in her email. You're going to see a little more, for lack of a better word, meat behind that epinephrine. And the Narcan, because it is not, and like Chase Brothers, well, the Danville City Police will issue Narcan, and so or administer Narcan. So that's a good question. I mean,
should the policy explicitly say this? This is limited to school buildings only and not?
I think that's good language.
Instead of board.
I think that's good language. I'm maybe too dependent on the language from KSBA because they have scrubbed it. And so this is what you have in the policy is the exact wording that KSBA gives us. And so that's the reason that I use that language in the policy. If you would like for me to do more research about that, I'm glad to do that. And we can take it up in August. If you're happy with the epinephrine piece of it, you can approve that part of the policy and we can get started and I can do more work on the Narcan. I'm just giving you exact language. And when I talked about some of this, I guess I'm telling you some of my...
Have you posed that question to whoever you're emailing? I guess KSBA, but...
I have not.
How that...
I've called and left a message for them to get back to me in Summers. It's just more difficult.
Right, because it says, if you read it, district schools may maintain Narcan for the administration, blah, 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 while on board owned property or attending a district event. So you would almost infer that, okay, well, the high school could have Narcan on hand at a high school football game, but it doesn't.
And I think may is I think if you read that epinephrine, I think we get into shall. I think the language is a little bit tighter. And I think the Narcan is.
Epinephrine says shall.
Yeah. And I think the language is a little bit intentionally more loose on the Narcan. I don't mean that any way other than it sounds. I don't mean that anybody means it to be loose. I just think may not.
So you said that the epinephrine we would have adult and child.
If you have, you're required.
And then what about the Narcan? Is that just saying?
The Narcan is not adult. It's not adult child dose.
It's just a dose.
That's my understanding.
So the policy where it does say may, let's say when we decided to have prom off-site, we decided, well, maybe we ought to take some Narcan. I mean, this policy would allow that.
Absolutely, it would allow it. I think the may
Just wouldn't
would be in one of those crazy situations where the junior statesman forgot to take it with him to Cincinnati to catch the bus. I think May gets you out of that issue.
I don't know, after talking about it, I mean, maybe a channel, they started.
And then in cases where, there, and y'all know this, I'm telling you something you don't know, there are children that are going to have EpiPens with them. And so, those are still, those kids are going to have those on field trips, sporting events, all those things.
Okay. Any questions or discussions? So this can be considered the first reading for both of those, and then we can have it in August.
And I've alerted our school nurse that this policy is coming down the pipeline, possibly, so she's ready to implement, get people trained, get going on. Hopefully we can do that on these first days back to school.
Would it help? I know it's just a week's difference to have it on the work session for approval versus the board.
It would help us start computer training.
Trying to get a little bit earlier. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you very
Well,
much. Okay, moving on, the next item on the agenda is the draft meeting schedule.
So with what's presented is the second and third Mondays of the month, with the exception of August, which was third and fourth to allow for the start of school.
Yeah, did that get?
October the 9th, Steve's pointing at us, fall break.
All right. Yes.
I'm thinking we can just eliminate the 9th meeting and move the work session to the 16th and then the regular meeting to the 23rd. Or do it the first week or whatever. But I know that the October 9th is not good, that's fall break, so.
Right. So we want to look at possibly the 2nd and the 16th,
16th and 23rd.
or the 16th and 23rd. Is there a preference?
And remember, this is a draft that you'll be approving in August,
Right.
so you got some time to play.
Okay. Now, going back to what you mentioned about
August supposed to be you and Steve and I talked about the 21st and the 28th.
Right. Moving that purely just so that because the 14th is just a couple days before school, I thought that might be a little difficult for staff and folks to try and be at that meeting. So again, on August, we're looking at the 21st being the work session, and then August 28th being the regular board meeting.
That's fine. The 21st is actually the third
Yes.
Monday, because
Three and
that's
four.
when we actually have to approve.
So the 21st would be approving the schedule.
Okay.
And you decided on October to do the 16th and the 23rd, as opposed to the 2nd.
That's
I
fine.
guess, does anybody have any, did you mention being out of town or something, Troy? on
Just
October?
on that fall break.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So then October, we'll look at doing the 16th and the 23rd, unless anybody has any. We can still change it next week if we need
In
to.
December, why do we skip?
We're talking about October.
No,
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, are you trying, okay.
16 and 20.
We're all adjusting. So right now, just to go through, we're looking at August 21st and 28th, October 16th and 23rd.
Correct.
And then why in December do we skip the week from the 4th to the 8th?
Yeah, the 18th.
I just followed the pattern that they've always
Let's
done.
go
I'm
back.
not sure why.
Because the 18th is the day kids get out of school.
So do we want to do the 4th and the 11th?
Yeah. 18th is.
4th, 11th.
4th and the 11th, then in December. could still do it, it just, if the kids are out, just in case, we'll leave it.
And obviously July is something that it's not required for any different pattern, it's just an option. We're just trying to block a larger period of time for meeting and discussion, board policy about it.
Yeah, we can just leave it, change it. I think it still says 2017, if we want to just make that 2018.
Well, and you want to look at the schools too. The last 2 years, that's the pattern we followed for the schools. You may want to mix that up too.
Oh, like Hogsett, Tolliver.
Right, like September's always Hogsett.
And essentially, if every school twice.
Yeah,
As long as we do that.
yeah.
Okay, and I know this is being picky, but on June the 4th, central office, can we meet in the flex room?
As long as you set it on here.
No, that's what I'm asking, because central office is hard. I mean, you got the air conditioning running, and you can't hear, and then if you shut it off, then you're, breaking out in sweats, and
Yeah, anything in red, you guys can change.
Right.
Anything.
So-
Okay.
Whatever you all want to do.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just put Danville High School.
Okay.
But do take a look at July, and whether or not that's what you'd like for it to play out to be. Or, no, that's got to be part of the conversation on the 21st.
Okay. I think this one, I know it's hard to know vacations, I guess, I know for all of us, I know that was kind of an issue this year, we're trying to make that work. So I'll say we put it on there, and then if we have to make changes, that'd be special call, which is what we've had to do.
Or the reverse, you just schedule a regular meeting in July, and then you can also create a special call retreat.
That might be better. So we do the, 16th and 23rd? Or just do one, we just do one? We don't
Yeah,
have
you're
to
only
do two.
required to have one meeting a month.
Okay, let's just do one, maybe on the 16th.
Okay.
Is that
We can add a
July?
special call meeting.
Is that July?
July, yeah,
July
sorry.
16th. I will probably revise it and send it back to you guys before.
Next Monday? Okay, thank you. Or before August, sorry. Keep forgetting what.
Teresa, I typed it in too, so I'll send it.
Okay, any other questions or discussion on that draft? We will approve that at our August meeting. Okay, next item on the agenda is the salary schedule revisions.
So as I mentioned, this is something we've continued to look at and correct and update, ideally to get to August to where that would be the end of our updates and corrections. In past, we have done driver trainer as we prepare new bus drivers as a stipend, or actually just tried to add some extra time. We tried to, it wasn't defined, is probably the best way to say it. So if you look on what's attached, on the classified notes, the second bullet is the actual change, which says driver trainer rate is an additional $1 an hour. So while you're working as the driver trainer, your rate would move up $1 an hour. And we can do this, I've got a few other ones, so we may want to use one at a time because they're not all connected.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
which I guess either I need a straw poll initially to say, yeah, that sounds pretty good, and then we'll go to the next one, or we can actually vote on each one, whichever you are more comfortable with, knowing that ultimately just got to.
Does it all fall under this? Since we
It's all
don't-
salary schedule.
Okay.
I'd say we can go on and
Yeah.
vote on this tonight, move to the next one.
Well, I think what,
Right, there's a few
Yeah,
different things
a few
that change
different ones.
within salary schedule. Obviously, they're all different. So the next thing I want to do is talk about a stipend for energy management, which should hinge upon what you think about driver training.
I feel good about drafting.
So we're going to go with each one individually.
Do you want to do
Or
it?
two.
He's got a couple more to add. Do we want to do individual motion on each one?
Yeah, because we only have the attachment, I think, for this one, is that correct?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so if we
I'll
get a
make-
motion for this one,
I'll
put it
make-
on there, we're going to come back with one.
I'll make a motion to approve with the revised salary schedule for the driver training rate.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sweet. Okay. Do you want to explain this?
Okay, and which one are you handing out?
The
Stipends?
KSBA stipends.
This
Energy management.
This is, I'm requesting to be able to pay a stipend for a energy data manager who can help collect the energy data from our utility bills, who can help analyze that, as well as work with me to develop and implement energy improvement plans, and then lead the energy committee, as well as help each school begin to think about energy management, energy savings. This is, through KSBA, has school energy management program, and they have worked with KU and LGE to get grants where they will pay for part of energy management salary if you meet the criteria and have an energy management plan. The issue that we have found is that it's pretty time consuming, and it's difficult for someone who has already a lot of things to do to get this part done. I can't manage the data. I could do really well implementing what we've come up with, like getting LED lighting. We put LED lighting in the bottom floor at Bait, and we're really excited to see how that's going to come out cost-wise. But keeping up with some of the actual data itself is tough. So,
You got to pull every bill, track every hour, or kilowatts, usage, and so forth comparisons.
and
The cool thing about this is it's no cost to the district's general fund. We get about this amount of money for
this
energy
is what we
management.
get from them. It's $6,548. So the stipends that I'm proposing here will be revenue neutral for you, and it will help us energy-wise, because the second one is custodial coordinator at this high school. This building is used 24/7. And one of the problems that we run into are lights left on, doors left open, no one checking, air conditioning still on instead of off, unless you're having a roofing issue put in there. And so I would like to be able to coordinate all of the after-hour events and connect that to our energy management, energy savings. Because lights are left on here way too much. Water may be dripping, commode running continuously, so those types of things. And at the same time, this person would also work really closely with our HVAC maintenance guy to be able to recognize issues with the HVAC. Sometimes we don't find out that we have a whole unit not running continuously, because we probably get 3 or 4 alarms every 6 hours coming through on email. After a while, it's like you just kind of, you don't know if something's really happening or not happening unless you're in the building. So that's what these two are for. And there's still a little bit of money left over that we could use for some educational literature units and things for the schools. That's another missing piece we have. We need to teach energy management to our kids too.
So are these stipends, so this is adding on to responsibilities for folks that we already have in place?
Yes,
Is that
we
Yes.
right?
identify
Yes.
someone to also handle custodial coordination, or also handle energy management. Okay.
So with the balance, I know you're saying you want to do more. Is there enough to coordinate? I mean, we still have other buildings. That
Yeah.
It'd be nice to know if faucets are dripping and toilets are running and HVAC's not on or off or whatever. I mean, I think it'll pay for itself quickly.
And that's something we could certainly look at, or we could actually, extend this one to 2 people, or The one person could do all the, it's gonna take a matter of training. There's quite a bit of training involved in how to recognize it and what to do. So, but that's, long-term goal would be wonderful to have one of our custodians start off with this and learn this, and then begin to work with the other schools.
Is this something we feel like we could get every year, this grant, or?
There's no guarantee.
Okay, so you have to apply every year for this, or
It's just
whatever
offered.
was offered?
It's
Okay.
offered, and then we have criteria that we have to meet.
Okay.
For example, you have to have an energy committee, and you have to have an energy management plan. You have to have a plan where you're gonna show savings, like we've done with Bait, we put LED lighting in as part of the plan. Obviously, when we renovate Hobbs, that'll meet all criteria of the plans, because that building will be much more energy efficient. We've put a boiler in one of the, Jenny Rogers, I think, so the things that we've done along the way.
Yeah, this grant money came about through KSBA with the work that they're doing to help save the district's energy monies, by basically going out and helping to negotiate prices that LG&E, KU, Kentucky Power are presenting. So, I mean, there's been millions of dollars that's been saved because of the lobbying efforts of KSBA. So, and part of the agreement was that the energy companies would also supply a fund to help do exactly what we're doing, but it doesn't mean it's going to be there all the time. So yeah, we need to take advantage of this.
We did qualify through KSBA and the SIP program for Bait to be a part of the new energy rate that is lower, which will help us. Bait's our biggest energy hog.
Okay, so we need a motion for the specific.
Make a motion to approve the request for permission for stipends to collect, analyze, and submit energy data for the KSBA School Energy Management Program.
Second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So one more.
Thank you, Christine.
And this one's tricky because I need to gauge whether or not this is wanting to be a discussion. Steve had a conversation with me related, this has been of concern to other board members, so I'm hoping that's the case, about the extent to which our football program and coach is in need of release time to be able to run an effective program. If that in fact is something that, I mean, anytime you run 100 kids, I think you can make strong case that football, unlike many other sports, has a different kind of demand to it. And in order for that to occur, for there to be time release, it is more likely, we got two choices. We either can say, school, it's your responsibility to work out, and we believe that to be the case because the board, hey, we've set a stipend. Anything beyond that is about who is the supervisor of the individual. Or the board can say, as part of the stipend, you get this amount of money and release time. And then the board would budget for release time. So that way, whether the coach was classified, certified, elementary, middle, or high, we would make the commitment as board that X amount of time of your day would be released. And therefore, so let's say if the individual is a certified teacher, it would cost the board half of the teaching position for that person to be released half of that. If that person is an instructional assistant, it would cost stipend plus half of the salary for an additional 0.5 instructional assistant to release that person half of the day. And that would be true elementary, middle, or high. What I don't know is the extent to which, what's the board's interest in this? How much of there is a drive? And we can work on solutions, or we can decide that, again, all coaches are coaches, and it's the school's responsibility when it comes to determining the schedule of time.
That's kind of my knee-jerk reaction. It's a school decision as opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is kind of the first time I've heard of it. If it's something that,
This is the part I didn't, again, I heard board members were approached, and it's been, okay, I apologize for throwing curveballs, that's the part I didn't know.
that's okay. I just think if this is something, I mean, if there's a really strong case, I wouldn't mind to hear from Coach Clevenger as to the reasoning behind it.
To me,
So-
and that's the tricky part, like, I would hate to make this about any individual, because it puts that person in a really tough position.
Right.
which is much more I would like to, if we were going to discuss it, I think it ought to be about whether or not the sport in and of itself is inherently demanding in a different way, and therefore would require the board to address. But if I'm misinformed, it's not a board appetite, then we'll just move right on.
I guess that was just kind of my knee-jerk reaction, is that it's a school-based thing.
Fair enough, then we're done with
Well,
salary.
I don't want to speak for everybody else. I think
No,
it sounds to me
I
like it
agree.
should be a school thing.
Also, such a big argument as to.
Well, if it turns out that there is more to it, I'll come back to you with that information in advance.
Well, I was approached with concerns. My concern is that you grant a particular person, coach, whoever it is, additional release time to operate their sport. Well, somewhere that money has to come from. And then also, it doesn't always sit well with other faculty that said program is getting X amount of release time. So how come I'm not? So it's not an easy thing. And I know over the years, the football program has been through a lot, and Lisa knows a lot more probably about it than I do, as I remember. I know there have been times we made adjustments. And coaches seem to always have taught, but I'm not convinced that all of our football coaches actually taught a full load. So, and I think that's where the discussion is, or could be. So, I'm not for singling out a sport or a person, but I think that there may be some realities. And I don't know when and how we have this discussion. Lisa, you have any comments? Not
I
necessarily.
mean, I've not heard anything about it either, so this is the first I've heard of
Okay,
it.
I'm just looking
Just
for more
a-
historical perspective. I know it's-
Absolutely, football's demanding.
I mean, I know when
it's
Sam
the
was
numbers
coaching,
and I'm sorry?
when Sam was coaching, it transitioned from,
Well, his latter years of coaching, he was a retired employee.
right.
I
But
mean, I don't
before
know if
that,
it's comparable, and then before that, he did have classes.
but he didn't have a
before
full
retirement.
load.
I
That
don't
I'm
think
aware
so.
of.
I mean, Ed probably might help me out here a little bit, but I mean, he had exercise physiology classes, I know, through to lunch.
But I always thought he had
He
less period.
had AD planning, which is
Two planners,
pretty
I
much,
think.
that's pretty much generally accepted across the Commonwealth. Most ADs that are not full-time ADs, if they're teaching, they get an extra planning period for AD responsibilities.
Right.
And then he has his regular teaching planning, and then maybe a supervision of cafeteria, that's duty. And so what it might look like, how the school may craft that, sometimes when you're reviewing it from outside, you think, well, gosh, he's actually assigned certain things that don't look like, but the planning is, and there is a lot of stuff that goes on with that.
And it may not be anything the board wants to look at it right now, and it's fine. I feel obligated to bring it up to the board for discussion or not discussion. So, but that's why I was glad you two guys were here, to at least get a historical view of it.
More movement that obviously we'll be willing to look at it and discuss further. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Danville Schools Education Foundation Director. Now, there is a job description attached. If there's anything specific you want to add, Keith, to this.
I think I'll reiterate what I said before. I'm very anxious to have a formal concerted effort at the organization of the Alumni Association that we're able to maintain regular and direct contact with on an ongoing basis, both for the promotion of the district and the garnering of resources. as we've talked, it's the last conversation was whether or not the issues could be combined. I think as we've looked, that it doesn't happen, that is uncommon at best. It's a different set of job skills and a different set of purposes. And I think that it would be great for us to give the foundation a shot at real survival. And I think that by giving them a window of time and pocket money, it's venture capital. And I think it's an investment into our alumni in particular, and into the ability for us to expand offerings in the district beyond any state initiative. It's always money well spent.
Again, I think from my vantage point, and I've shared this with times with you all again, having come from being in that position, I too feel very strongly for this, because I know just with what little the foundation has been able to do over the last few years, the amount of money they have raised just doing Dancing with the Stars, and knowing that every dime of that has come back in to help our students. And what this opportunity allows to me, because I know coming from that position how difficult it was to do it on a part-time volunteer basis, that, hopefully with the right person in place and given the support that it needs, again, like Dr. Luck has mentioned, what you hope not only is to grow the Alumni Foundation for support and money and things to come back into the schools, but what that would allow the Education Foundation to do to offer more programs and more money at the end of the day for our students. So I personally would like to see this. I think, I know we've all kind of had different thoughts on for how long. I know a little hesitant to go much farther than 3 years. I don't know where everybody else stands on this and if they feel the same way.
Is it possible, I know we say a 3-year position, and maybe is it something we reevaluate anyways at the end of 1 year? As we reevaluate everything else, is it something, if it's not productive in the first year, are you able, if you commit to 3 years, to say after 1 year, this is not working, I don't think we're getting the results we want? Is there a way who evaluates, or?
Technically, the board would have that right with any position in the district. So, that's the ace the board holds with any role. I think that we would want to be very careful because to recruit someone, we'd have to make sure that they feel very assured that they would be given the amount of time necessary to prove the effectiveness. If they get in and find a whole series of conditions that maybe haven't been disclosed or other reasons and so forth, maybe the time frame is something out making changes. But I think that's also where we would need the board of directors on which I serve, so I've got the representation of the board and of the district as well as that. That lens carries across. So all that to say, yes, technically you can yank it anytime. We would want not to do that. That needs to be a launch.
I was unsure when we're creating positions, we say 3 year, are we, if something happened and we owe 20
We
more
would
tax
want to
bills.
evaluate this person too, or
Right.
be sound part of it, because we don't want you to hire a person that's not doing their job for us.
Right.
We want to see steady improvement, set goals for this person, maybe raise 50,000 the first year, so much the next year or whatever, and contact this many alumni because I'm used to a business world where you set goals.
Right.
And that's what you're evaluated on. So definitely we want to set goals and make sure that whoever we hire is on target to meet those goals.
That's what I was going to say about it. It says that they report to and are evaluated by the board of directors. That's the Education Foundation board of directors or the school district?
Officially, I'm going to be the one doing the evaluation because there's no one from the board of directors who's licensed to evaluate the Danville Schools employee. But to do it in consult with the Danville Education Foundation board of directors is probably more accurate.
you know, we all received a letter or an email from a person involved with the high schools. I don't think they totally saw the whole big picture of it, felt like that we need to direct more money straight to students. I'm also involved in a foundation, and 110% of our money goes toward the recipients. And I know over the years, the foundation has raised, what, $200,000-300,000 that directly goes to the benefit of our students. You know, be it if it's a grant or whatever it might be. And it's also directed, directed in a very valuable way to make sure that those monies are being spent accordingly. I wasn't exactly sure where I was on this. I was really been riding the fence. I think it's valuable. I think we're in a unique situation. We have a strong presence of our alums. I think we need to build on that. I think it's a commitment that we should be making. I think 3 years is a good commitment. So as far as I'm concerned, I think we should go for it.
Well, I know at the last meeting, Paige, you had asked if we could find somebody that had a foundation in another school, and I did find one in Tennessee. And right now, they've had a foundation for 25 years. Their executive director is a staff member of their district, and they give back to the schools over $200,000 a year. Plus, they have scholarship funds set up for them. They have contacted their alumni and developed a scholarship fund for their students. So, I mean, I think it's something that we need to do because we cannot do it by ourselves on a volunteer basis. And like I said, every penny is going to go back to the school system.
And they're employed by the school system, you said. And I know that when we talked earlier, you all had talked about maybe the school carrying this position and then with the intent or hopes that possibly the foundation would take.
We would eventually like to be able to pay this person directly out of the endowment built up by the foundation.
Part of why I would like to see at least tried, knowing that the end result is ultimately that the foundation would be paying the salary of this individual, is what the goal is.
And it may be set up to where, because of benefits, this person might need, I keep saying she, but I really don't know anybody. But it might be the benefit of keeping a good person, to keep them as a staff member so that they'll have health insurance and all of that kind of stuff, because when you try to get it for one person or two people, your premiums are outrageous. But with this person bringing money in, that will subsidize her salary through the foundation.
And that could all be worked out later. Certainly we could set something up to where if they needed to stay for insurance reasons, the foundation could reimburse the board for those costs, so something like that. That would be a good problem to have in the future. So, yeah.
It's a valuable position, but I see how 3 years is nowhere.
Anybody else have any other questions, concerns, comments?
Paul, do you feel comfortable with this? I mean, I wish kind of we had item 15 before, I wish we had done 15 before 13 and 14, just, I mean, I just haven't had a financial. Be a what? Sorry.
Classified.
So we need to talk about the request was $50,000 per year plus benefits. So I guess we need to know where we all stand on that.
Teresa, can you table in special call meeting, can you table an item until later in the agenda?
I would think so.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but if that's the issue.
You
I would
can't
really
add
like to hear,
anything.
I just
Right,
haven't
to
had.
table discussion
I
until,
would think so.
to after 15.
That would make me feel comfortable, just kind of knowing where we're at before we say yes, just in case there's a surprise.
Sorry to keep suspense.
Sorry.
Okay, do we need to make a motion to do that?
That's what you want, so we need motion to table until after discussion of the names.
I'll make a motion that we'll table this discussion until after finance.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
So do we need to also be doing that on item 14?
So, yeah, I'll listen to this, why 14 on the agenda. If we're not going to split the two positions,
No,
excuse me,
I
I said it wrong, I said that wrong. If it's not going to be the same person, if that's where things are heading, then I want to get a job description approved as fast as possible for PR so I can get that posted and filled. Already we're looking at starting the school year without someone in that role.
And
Just a little nervous.
I think we said the salary range 30 to 40. 40.
For the foundation.
For the foundation.
Foundation position. Item 14 refers to that if in fact these positions are not combined, then I want a job description and approval when the board is ready so I can advertise.
So what's the thought again about if we've been doing a contract or an agreement? What's the shift in wanting to hire a position as opposed to it?
That's been the goal. It's been the goal all along, was to build to a permanent position. And I feel like we're now know enough about what we expect from that role to be able to post, to recruit, post, and hire specifically for that.
And how much are you, I mean, we said we spent 36,000 last year on.
We've been working on salary schedule. I don't have a set, but roughly, well, the way I look at it, the money that we had for the position of grant writer is vacant, because that position has been filled. That position, that money, even though that position has dissolved, that money is still revenue neutral, would shift over to this role. So it's still no additional.
Not hiring that position? As we did the
We
other
haven't as of
position?
yet. I've been saving it to be able to make sure we have paid outcomes. It's still
So
revenue neutral.
how much is that?
Between 50 and 60 grand, which would more than cover. I don't know that it will cost us that much. But I want to keep things moving and make sure that.
Yeah, can you?
Not without talking about individual people. There was a retirement in December that freed up that position. Those duties have been distributed differently. We are still involved in a number of grants. From Math Achievement Fund, Read to Achieve, to Collaborative Teaching, Guardian Gods and Atlas. There's a whole host of grants out there. It's not just one person's due. And nor that individual just write grants all day. We've never had that. It's just categorically what the role is described to be. So since those duties have been distributed, the money that funded that position is still there. And I would like to convert those dollars into the public relations. So we're still able to provide services at a revenue neutral position for the board. And ultimately, it could be a savings because we've been doing contractual services above and beyond. So now we're starting to build a budget not only for the position, but also for the expenses incurred when it comes to producing materials, which we've never settled. So come out ahead.
Do we have some history though on what we've spent for publications and plus the salary expense? Because we haven't been doing benefits as well, correct? So that's an added.
So that's savings. Yeah. So when it comes to the budget side of PR, we have to decide the level of investment which to make. Schools and districts who already have significant notoriety will still invest between $50,000 and $100,000 for services for them. We haven't come anywhere close to spending that. So at some point in time, we're going to need a position, and that individual is going to need a budget. So they can then decide, is it worth having gold-plated calendars that go out, or are we better off doing, what's the return on investment for everything that we do as related to public relations? Do you throw a gala, or do you do a brochure? Is it what quality paper that comes into, how do you distribute those sorts of things? So we've played with a number of different things, probably spend every year, I would guess, in the vicinity of $20,000 on everything from postage to printing. It depends on if do you include the senior spotlight in that budget, or is that a high school budget item? So That's one part of this. But I feel that we are ready to recruit, hire, retain, and promote a person in the role for the Danville schools as a full-time position.
I'm just curious why the title senior media manager as opposed to like public relations?
In looking at the market as far as what the rest, we've done some research as to what other places are calling it, that is going to give us the most hits of folks looking to be in that. It's not just PR, it is also the social media falls into that, website design falls into that. It's a little different than just pure public relations. It's not just about going out and showing up at events, it's also going to be the protection of that. For a position like this, we would need to promote in very different avenues. These folks aren't looking at school district websites for jobs, so we need to go to different marketplaces where folks with this skill set would be looking for employment, as well as sending it out through channels that get us to the mixed media program at WKU, those sorts of things.
Can I make a motion to table this until the year guidance?
Sure.
I make a motion to table the discussion of the Danville Schools Public Relations position until after item 15.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Mr. Dean, no pressure. Sorry.
So everything hinges on me.
Okay. All right, so it looks like the first item on the, under the finance update is discussion of tax rate and community notification.
So in general, board discusses tax rate formally in August. I think I was on Dave and Steve, we don't really want that to be the first time the board has started to discuss its questions and possible priorities and indications of budget proposal. So this is just a chance to enter into that. That's why this says discussion only, because no action will be taken.
Do you want to talk a little bit too on the community notification part? Because I know this was part of our discussion in the meeting, and I think it's a really good idea.
Well, in the past, we have sent a letter along with tax bills. This year's letter will want to indicate that the school board has increased services to English language learners, migrant education, special education, has developed plans for world language and sustainable plays, a series of other initiatives, all at zero cost to taxpayers. We've done all year, every plan, every budget, every dollar has been done revenue neutral, which is remarkable. For a school board to invest $500,000 of money into recurring budgets, I think we were the only school district in the state of Kentucky that's done that, and been able to do that at no additional cost to the taxpayer. It is important, I think, for us to be able to celebrate that message with the letter that goes out, no matter if that rate is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. It is a real point of pride to be able to say, here's how responsible we've been with your dollars. Here's how we've increased services directly to students, all kinds of students, and done this at no additional cost to you. It's not often as a taxpayer you get that message.
I think it's important to know that we have not yet received our tax information from the Department of Education as far as what amount will be generated based on those assessments in the area. As far as I know from talking to the PBA, none of the Danville districts were reassessed this year, so the assessments will probably be along the same lines as they were last year. So we're kind of waiting on Jay Ritter to give you that information so that we can see what will be generated from the compensating rate, what other percentages of increase we produce.
Paul, wasn't it that last year for each full percent was roughly $75,000? Am I making that up? 1% was 75, 2% was 150.
I think it was a little bit more than that. I don't have that chart in front of me where we did the different percentages. But I think last year we sent out tax bills basically million.
And the general argument is, obviously, is that anytime you don't take a tax increase, you've lost that money for forever. Which is why, as superintendent, I can come up with ways for us to spend every additional dollar we get. I'm sure you can as well. There also comes a time, though, at which you recognize the fact that a tax increase isn't required and something that we take very seriously, and maybe there's windows of opportunities where it is less necessary, or you can forego that money for forever to move forward. If you'll have a target with you this year, being fiscally neutral, to put you in the position to be able to not have to take a tax increase, or to allow you to be very specific as to what that tax increase would go to. And I think that you are in that position.
Something else you have to consider are future costs, things that pop up that you don't know about. I had a conversation today with Mr. Becker regarding, just for instance, CERS, our County Employees Retirement System, that our classified people pay into. Right now, it's costing our district 19.18% for employee salaries. They're looking to jump that now based on the situation with the unfunded liability in the state, putting the burden further on us. They're looking at increasing that from 19.18 to possibly 26.4%. So those kind of things make you sit and think about what we have to consider for the future. It's not just what we got to sit in front of us, something like that coming up, which from all indication looks very likely.
So Paul, under that, or with that segue, what, any other upcoming expenses that possible?
Well, it depends a lot on what you want to consider as an upcoming expense. I know we've got on the agenda here on the next line item some things that Christy has been working on putting together for us, areas in the district where we might want to consider making some investments in the coming year or two, things that need improvement in our schools and some of our facilities, things that we need to consider. So as far as other expenses like that, I don't know of any off the top of my head. I do know that our workers' comp premium is still pretty hefty right now, but the way things look this year, if we continue doing what we're doing, then that will roll back and ease that burden a little bit. But no, I can't think of any off the top of my head with extraordinary expenses, other than the loss on paper. And we do have to consider that. We'll talk about that here shortly. I've got some information regarding that. Are you wanting me to tell you that we need a tax increase, or you want to tell me to tell you that we don't, or
No, I think that's, I mean, that's really, we just need to have the information. And as a board, we make that decision. So, I mean, that's on us.
I think at this point, it's just getting the thoughts just starting. And hopefully, with what you're going to be able to share with us here in a little bit, and the more information we have, obviously, the more that's going to help us with these type of decisions. Sure, would we love to not increase rates? Absolutely. But again, when you have things that are out of our control, there's always going to be something out there that we didn't budget for. There's going to be increases, so it does make it really hard.
And there are ups and downs. If our ADA continues to do what it's doing, that's helping us offset some of that with our seat money. So there are gives and takes.
Right. So, I mean, at least for me, I'd love to be able to move on and kind of see where we are with things, unless anybody has any other any other questions to pose to Paul at this point. So, if it's okay with you, we'll just move on. I know, obviously, Wausau payback is a big expense that we were hoping not to have.
I have spoken with a representative of Wausau Paper. Wausau Paper, his name is Norman Fortier, proposing a breakup of the payments, so we're going to do it entirely in one lump sum. He was very understanding and thought we could work something out. I made a proposal that if we could pay $50,000 initially and then work the rest of it maybe over 6 months, where we can ease that by when some of our tax collections start to come in, help offset some of that a little bit. He was, he understood and was very good with that. He just asked that he could contact his corporate headquarters in Philadelphia and get the approval, which he didn't seem like that would be a big issue. So that sounds like something that we will be able to work out. Now, I did not broach the subject with him about future years. I know there are 2 more years sitting out there where they can file an amended return and possibly